Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Rosie and I'm a UK midwife. It is that time of year again when everyone is getting prepped for the new academic year, and I've started getting loads of messages from people asking, what do I need to buy to be a student midwife? I'm starting uni in a couple of weeks, what do I need to buy? I've done a few posts on this on my blog in the past, and I will link those below, but as I'm doing a bit more on YouTube now, I thought I would put together a video on here. So, you've got your place at uni, what do you actually need? My one little tip would be to only buy the things you really think you're going to use. All the books and things are going to be available in the library. There are a couple that I would say are still really useful to have at home, but you could really break the bank by buying everything that you possibly could need and then not use it. So the things I'm going to go through today, I would say are pretty key, but I will say if they aren't. So the first thing that you think of when you go to university, books. What books do I need? Every university has a huge library and they are going to have all the obscure books, all the books on very specific topics that you might need further on in your course. To get you started, you are going to need a midwifery textbook. So there are two main midwifery textbooks, Miles and Mays. They are pretty much the same. It's just your way of learning. One of them is much more visual than the other. So what I would suggest is going to a library or a bookshop where they have both, flick through them and see which one works best for your style of learning. I did that and immediately found myself leaning towards one over the other. So that's how I made my decision. But you will need one or the other of Miles and Mays. The next book that you probably will need is a skills book. The most popular is Skills for Midwifery Practice. And this book covers everything from taking blood, vaginal examinations, everything that you're going to need skills-wise is in there with huge amounts of detail. It's got diagrams, it's brilliant. So you are going to need a skills book and you will look back on that book throughout your 3 years, so it's a really useful investment. Another book that would be really useful, and I've had a lot of messages recently from people who are saying, what can I do in the couple of weeks before my course starts to get myself prepared? Anatomy and Physiology. There is a textbook out there called Anatomy and Physiology for Midwives, and that's what I had, and it worked really well for me because it focuses specifically on the things that as a midwife you need to know about. And that, if you were going to do anything in preparation for starting your course, I would say to brush up on your anatomy and physiology. It really helps, and I know at least for where I trained, we did a whole module where we were just going over anatomy and physiology. So having that basic knowledge before you start really helps. Other books that you might need, at least on my course, we did a project based on research. So there was a book that they recommended to get for that, which had a bit more information about research and how to interpret it and how to critique it. So I had a research textbook specifically aimed at midwives, which was useful. And the only other thing that I found really useful was the Midwife's Dictionary. It's about that big. All of my books are packed because we're about to move house, otherwise I would show you. But it is brilliant. It's very small. You can put it in your pocket at uni, you can put it in your pocket at placement, and it means that when someone says a phrase and you go, I have no idea what that means, you can look it up really quickly. So yeah, I would recommend a little Midwife's Dictionary. Books wise, that's about it. The key ones I would say are the Miles and Mays, so pick one that works for you. Anatomy and Physiology for Midwives and Skills for Midwifery Practice. Everything else you can get further on in your course or find in the library, but those three I would say are really key and will be your bread and butter. So outside of books, what do you need? The next thing I get the most questions about is placement shoes. I went with the crowd and bought Unloops. They are by Clarks and They are probably in contention for the ugliest shoe on the planet. However, These have lasted me 4 years. These are so comfortable. At the end of the day, I kind of thought to myself, would I prefer to have a shoe that is really smart and looks good, or would I prefer to get to the end of a 12-hour shift and not have sore feet? And that is quite literally what these shoes do. I have never got to the end of a shift and had sore feet. So yeah, they're really ugly, but they are brilliant. I will put a link for these below. I will try and find a good deal and I'll put them in the description box. But yeah, I would really recommend them, even though they might be the ugliest shoe on the planet. So the next thing I would say to get while we're on kind of things that you need for placement is a good fob watch. You'll have seen this in my what's in my bag video, which I will link below. This was a set of 3 or 4 from Amazon. It's silicone, so it is wipe clean, particularly with everything that's going on at the moment. You can cover this in sanitizer gel, you can wipe this and it is not gonna, it's wipe clean, it just is so much easier. The little watch face just pops out, so you can then put it into a different one. I think it comes with 3 or 4, but there's so many on Amazon. They're cheap and they're brilliant, and if they break you can replace them, but they pin on to your lapel so you can check. The only thing I would say definitely you need with a fob watch is it needs to have a second hand. I think you'll be hard pushed to find one without a second hand, but it needs to have the ticking seconds so that you can take all the observations that you need. One that you will have heard is pens. Definitely get loads of pens. Go to WH Smith's or somewhere and get a big box of black pens. You will not regret it. As a student, you will lose a black pen every single shift. If you're doing 3 shifts a week, it all adds up. So get as many as you can and you won't regret it. Next thing I would suggest, again still for placement, is a small notebook. This is the one that I still use and have used since I qualified. I had a very similar one when I was training. It fits in the back pocket of scrubs. I don't know what the size is, I think it's A6 or something, but it's small enough to fit in the back pocket. Just means you can write stuff down as you learn it, or write stuff down that you kind of go, I don't really know what that is and I want to look it up later. Remind yourself the details. Obviously don't write down any confidential information, but yeah, get yourself a notebook and just write stuff down. When you get home from a long shift, you are not going to remember to write these things down or look them up. It'll be at the weekend, a couple of days later when you've got a day off, you'll go, oh, what was that thing that I wanted to look up, and it'll be gone. So definitely have a little notebook. Next thing for placement is a water bottle. It is really, really hard to drink enough water on placement. You are busy, you are on your feet, you do not stop. And so it's really important to have a water bottle there that you can grab, take a sip and carry on. Get a water bottle, you will thank me for it. Another thing I get loads of questions about is a stethoscope. I have a stethoscope and I use it quite a lot, but I use it because I have an additional qualification with my degree where I can do the newborn infant physical examination. So for that, throughout my training and since I've qualified, I have really used this. If your course is not NIPE certified and you don't come out with a NIPE qualification, then I don't think it's necessary. My recommendation would be, do not make the investment until you think that you need it. Get out into practice, see how it works. If your hospital needs you to have a stethoscope, get a stethoscope. If your university suggests that you get one so that you can do your NIPE stuff, get a stethoscope. But I wouldn't say it is a completely necessary investment at this point about to start your course. This one that I have is a Littmann Classic 3 and it has 2 ends to the stethoscope. One is adult and one is paediatric, which is really useful in practice, but again, not completely necessary unless you are doing NIPEs. Another thing people tend to talk about quite a lot is bags. I had this is my uni backpack. It is Cath Kidston from 4 years ago. It has a pocket at the back that you can put a laptop in. It holds a lot. It can hold my lunch, textbook, notepads, pens, everything you need for a day at uni. So I would say definitely get a backpack that can hold a lot. This one is also waterproof, which is really useful, and it's a backpack, so you're not going to really like mess up your shoulders by carrying a shoulder bag. Personal choice, but I would say it's really useful to have a backpack and for it to be waterproof. Now, I know I mentioned that my backpack has a pocket for a laptop, and this is the next thing I get loads and loads of questions about. Do I need a laptop? I would say you don't need it. It depends very much on how you learn. Lots and lots of people in my class at uni wrote everything down, and that worked really well for them. For me, I have to see it on a screen. I would download the PowerPoints before the lecture and would have them up on my laptop, and then would be able to write notes at the same time, and that worked really well for me. It depends very much on your learning style. That said, you will need a computer or a laptop for essay writing and homework and assignments and things like that. So whether you have a computer at home or a bigger computer like this one, you will need a computer, because you are going to need something to type your essays on, to check your emails on, things like that. So you can't rely on just having an iPhone. You will need a computer to do those things. But you probably don't need something to take into lectures unless that's how you learn. When it comes to necessities for the course, that about wraps it up. There are lots of things out there that are not necessities but that are really useful. Things like a really good planner. You are going to need some kind of planner or organiser so that you know when your assessments are due, so you know when you're in placement and when you're in uni, what lectures you've got that day, what you need to prepare for, things like that. So you can get yourself a really basic thing from a stationery shop, or there is a wonderful company called the Happy Planner Company. I will link them in the description box, and they do planners specifically aimed at student midwives and other medical disciplines, but the student midwife ones I had throughout my 3 years, and they are brilliant. They've got all sorts of, they've got a little log for tracking your births. They have got a dilation thing that you fold out and you can practice whether someone's 1 centimetre or 5 centimetres. And it's got the proper planner, dates for your assessments and things like that. So I will link them below, and they are brilliant. Aside from that, notepads, pens, things like that you're going to need for uni, you'd need for any university course. You're going to lectures, you're learning stuff. Take a pen, take a notepad, but I think you all know that side of it. You can also find some really lovely things like birth counters on Etsy and similar sites, where when you get your catches as a student, they've got little kind of cut out hearts or cut out feet, and you can post them into a little letterbox. All of those things are really lovely, but also not completely necessary. So if you're trying to save some pennies, I've gone through the things that I think are completely 100% necessary, but if you want to have a look at some of those things, I will link a few favourites below for you. They're lovely and really special for tracking those special 40 births that get you to being a midwife. I hope this has been helpful. If you've got any questions, please leave them below. And if you found this video useful, please like and subscribe, and I will get some more videos out for you soon.